How are you doing? Here I am, enjoying under a willow tree a salix, which is famous for calming pain. This is the basic component of acetylsalicylic acid, which is used to make aspirins. And precisely in Humano Puente, our aspirin is this and this, but from a willow tree at the back of the house. Lucre sculpted a kind of cave of uterus, which allows one to sit here, to enjoy the little tree house, like when we were children, and feel that pleasure of being here, sheltered by a tree, by Mother Earth. Yesterday I performed a beautiful ceremony with Mother Earth to share some food in gratitude for the food that I can share with her and that she can enjoy from me too. And in that consciousness, today I want to talk to you about a little but very important step about how we create reality. When I take a person to their past to see what he or she kept in a certain scene in time, since I know, and I have proven many times, through the proposal that I present in Humano Puente about how we create reality, I know how the unconscious mind works to allow us to survive. Based on that, when I take a person to previous scenes, to painful scenes of his or her past, and always with the premise of how reality is created, and that we are creators of reality, premise number one of Humano Puente, that we come to heal all our past, but that includes all our previous experiences, which are the ones that motivated what happens to us in this experience. That creator has the ability to go and remember all those things, and the unconscious mind performs a permanent game of reading and creation based on that reading. Based on what it reads, it always seeks the most similar event to that circumstance that we have lived, to put the rest of that information in our reality, in order to simply keep us alive. Because that unconscious mind has a very important part, which is the biological unconscious mind. In the case of the human being, that biological unconscious mind, through language and thought, which was orchestrated by that language, has a very large input of what thoughts are, and the unconscious mind learned to incorporate the thoughts into that reality that we are creating. That is, we start with a sensory reality, but thought is part of that reality. What does the unconscious mind do? It reads all the time what situation we are in and what we add at the level of thought, at the level of experience, at the level of emotion. And it is going to complete everything that is missing in that scene, so that it looks as much as possible like a scene from the past that we have survived. That is why people are amazed at how they repeated the scenes throughout their lives, and how they repeat the lives of their ancestors when they become aware of what happened to their ancestors. That is because the unconscious mind is always reading, it destabilizes itself, in quotes, because in reality the unconscious mind never destabilizes because it maintains the whole universe, but you provide it with a certain information. It reads that information and it puts what is missing to allow you to repeat that experience that gave life as a result. Because if you are here, it is because you lived through it and you survived it. When I take a person to scenes from their past, what I do is ask them to describe sensorially the place where he or she is. For example, I take them to a scene where they were 20 years old and I ask them to describe to me in present where he or she is in those 20 years. For example, they may mention a house and a room of a house, and from there, my request for description is going to be sensory. I am going to ask him or her to describe the floor, the walls, the ceiling of that place where he is, not where he was, where he is, because the unconscious mind works in present, to be able to create reality, because it is in a permanent present moment. That is how it happens. Time does not exist, but it seems like it does. And I am going to ask them to describe to me the floor, the walls, the ceiling. Then I am going to tell them to continue with smaller details like the windows, like the doors, if there were curtains or not, if the light was on, off. Let him try to touch something. There I am going to go to the tactile. Let him smell. What is the smell there? It smells, for example, like a certain food. Let him tell me what sound there is in that place. For example, birds. And when I have all that scene created at the sensory level, since we are specialized in this, since we know how the unconscious mind works, I know that by doing that first step, the unconscious mind inevitably will begin to provide me with the rest of the information of what happened in that scene. It will tell me what this person thinks, and when thought is added to that data, it is going to be part of that scene, and he is going to tell me what he feels, and then he is going to tell me what the emotion is, and what is the emotion that he finally kept, and in what place of the body he or she keeps it. That is basic to take out an emotion that had remained unexpressed in a person. But what I want to highlight here is this: the power of the unconscious mind to provide all the necessary information when one poses a scene where one is. The unconscious mind does not doubt it. It cannot do it because the unconscious mind keeps us alive. So I give it the first data, and the unconscious mind is going to provide me with the rest. This is how we create reality each moment. We give data of a situation to the unconscious mind. Since we think about that situation, the unconscious mind unfolds the rest of the things, and we call the rest of the things reality. It means that if at this moment I am in a scene that is similar to that of a certain age, to that of the age of 20, 30, 40 especially, there are time patterns that are long to explain, but that can be seen in the openings. The unconscious mind does not have another option to keep us alive, because it is strongly governed by the biological unconscious mind. And that biological unconscious mind, in the human case, is influenced not only by what we live, at a strictly biological level by our biological past, but also by our cultural past, and the thoughts that cover that too, which are part of our biology, as I described in other videos. What do I mean by this? That although the memory that at this moment the unconscious is bringing us about how we live reality is important, it is also important what we are focusing on at every moment. If my unconscious mind always finds me, for example, I am now next to a river, and at this moment I can contribute the rest of the things to my unconscious mind. I can enjoy being next to that river. There is my dog. There is a willow tree here. Or I can be at this moment focused on the drama that took place in a certain river, and that at this moment in Indonesia a boat has just capsized. I just saw it on the news, and people shipwrecked. Then many children, many people drowned. The unconscious mind has to trigger the rest of the two options of reality for me. It would trigger a memory that I carry in my unconscious memories at the ancestral level, where I have the memory of when we came to Argentina, and some children had to be thrown into the sea because they had died, and all that drama. And from there it would create the following scenes for me to survive. Or I would be at this moment enjoying this river, watching my dog resting in the sand, lying in the sun under this willow tree. And the unconscious mind will also give me the rest of the contributions of reality. Therefore, it is true that believing is creating. It is true what Anita Marjani says in that wonderful book called Dying to Be Me, and I recommend it, that life is a kind of flashlight where one focuses and creates the reality. But I don't tell you this as a literary fact. Living is creating, and all that kind of things that are said and that seem to have no basis, but rather from the total certainty that that is so. So the people who believe that they are not affected by the news, the people who believe that their lives are not going to be affected by talking about bad things all day, it is really something that has no basis and something impossible to carry out, because the unconscious mind creates from the sensation and thought that we have in each situation. I invite you in this way to decide what kind of thoughts you are going to have this week so that life becomes more beautiful. I love you. All the information can be found at humanapuente.com, on Instagram, and in all my Facebook profiles. I'll be in Barcelona again soon. I am days away from going to Miami, and we are already in the last openings of Buenos Aires of 2019. A hug. I love you.